Chair Mohammed, are we ready to begin?
We are ready. I call this regular Planning Commission meeting to order at 6:30 p.m. Please stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Nicole, roll call, please.
Yes, Youth Commissioner Abyssinia Belvin. Youth Commissioner Royce Hall.
Here.
Commissioner Marilyn Avalon.
Here.
Commissioner Eric Altman.
Present.
Commissioner Shelby Goss.
Here.
Vice Chair Charles Plummer.
Present.
Chair Devet Mohammed.
Present. Thank you. We'll go ahead and move on to public comment. This time is reserved for members of the public to address the Planning Commission on items that are not on the agenda and are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Commission. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. Comments for items on the agenda will be taken when the item is called in open session. The Planning Commission is prohibited by law from taking any action on matters discussed that are not on the agenda, and no adverse conclusion should be drawn if the Planning Commission does not respond to public comment at this time. Do we have any public comments?
Is there anyone in the room that would like to make public comment? There's no one on Zoom. No public comment.
Thank you. I will close public comment. Director Cooper, do we have any agenda changes?
Thank you, Chair Mohammed. There are no agenda changes tonight.
Thank you. We'll move on to presentations by the Solano Napa Activity-Based Traffic Model.
Great. And I wanted to introduce Adrell Coleman from NVTA, and we're also have Diana Meehan. And we're very happy that they can attend tonight and tell us about the Solano Napa activity-based model. It's one of these very important tools that probably most of us haven't heard of. I worked on the last, helped participate in the last update, and William He is participating in this current update. And it's very, very important and complicated models. And with that, I'll turn it over to Adrell. Thank you.
Thank you, Brent, for the introduction. My name is Adrell Coleman. I'm a transportation planner with Napa Valley Transportation Authority. I'm here to provide just a high-level presentation on our Solano Napa activity-based model, or as we like to call it, SNAPA model update. Okay. So what is a travel demand model? So travel demand model is a forecasting tool that is used to estimate traffic volume by different modes using land use, and demographic data such as population, households, employment data, and then transportation network data, so your transit networks, your highway networks, and other factors to use as inputs to feed the model. An activity-based model predicts future travel behavior by simulating people's daily activities, so work, shopping, school, recreation, errands, etc. So, for example, like I have a job and I have to go to work. Fulfilling that activity is my travel to work. Same if I am running an errand or have to go to the grocery store. Me completing that trip is actually going to the grocery store. And so our activity-based model is a travel demand model that is used for transportation planning projects in Napa and Solano counties. So any developments that come online or any transportation projects or any investments that we're making to our system and to our land use. Types of models and when to use them. So in the 9-county Bay Area, we have 3 different types, starting with the regional model, which MTC oversees. And this is this provides regional detail throughout all 9 Bay Area counties, and it's used for regional planning studies, their RTP, which is their regional transportation plan, any major investments. So if you were going to do a large highway project or BART extension, you would use the regional model to conduct an analysis of how it would impact the land use and traffic. At the countywide level, which is our model, it provides a little bit more detail at the county level. So we do use the regional model and build off of that. And then we kind of layer it in with our countywide networks and use MTC's data to showcase the travel in and out of our county to other counties. And so that can be used for traffic impact studies, highway studies, any corridor studies. And then lastly is the city model, which you can use the county and regional models to feed into that, but it provides more detail at the city level. So if you were conducting local traffic impact analysis or any type of intersection analysis, you would use the city model. And so background of the model, so MTC develops a regional model and a regional transportation plan every so often. You may have heard of them. It's under the Plan Bay Area. We had 2040, 2050. They're recently in the process of adopting 2050 plus, and sometime this year, I think later on this year, they're going to adopt, not adopt, but they're in the planning stages of 2060. And so that's part of the reason for this model update is to get ahead of that. We are required as a CTA to participate in this, and we're required to comply with MTC's regional modeling assumptions. And so the land use and demographic data that feeds into our model is based off of their most recent regional plan, which is Plan Bay Area 2050 plus predictions. And so this will be, that's what is feeding our model. And so why are we in the process of updating our model? So the current version, the base year is 2015, so it's been over a decade since we last updated it. It's severely outdated. Some of the changes since the last update, we've had significant change in how people travel, how they get to work. There's now telecommuting and hybrid work, as we can see here. People have the option to join on Zoom, and you don't have to go in person to many things anymore. Origin and destination pairing has changed. Mode shift, so people have, we've seen the decline in transit, which means people are now using their personal vehicles to get to their places of destination more so than they did before COVID and the pandemic started. We've seen a change in travel times since the last iteration of the model was updated, and then we've had some changes in uses for the model. And so for this update, we're looking at a base year of 2023. This is the year that we chosen based off of the data that is currently available. We are in the process of collecting that data from the jurisdictions or having them verify it. We're using 2023 census data, household survey data, transit ridership numbers, traffic counts. So everything, all the data that's being input into the model is more recent and or is in the process of being collected. And so what's the difference in this model update that we're conducting? So we're going to make sure that this version of the model will be more consistent with MTC's latest regional model, their travel model. We're recalibrating the model to 2023 conditions, which is just kind of after the pandemic. We'll have the latest version of Population SIM, so it should be faster and improve the processes for traffic impact studies. We'll have an updated telecommute model, and then we'll have accurate post-pandemic transit ridership too, which, as I mentioned, transit ridership is pretty much down across the board, so it'll be a little bit more accurate. So right now, we're in the process of requesting information from the jurisdictions. We sent out the first request was for them to review 2023 data. So this was population and employment data that we sent out, and we did receive feedback from them. Thank you, William, for your participation in that, and also being a member of our Model TAC, which is a collective of planning and public works staff from Napa County and Solano County, and that's currently being reviewed. We are having the jurisdictions review 2050 data, which compares compares the data versus their adopted general plans, specific plans, or any other verified plans, and to provide feedback on those numbers. This should only include approved and funded projects, so be mindful of that. And then for the third round, we are going to send out some information and have the jurisdictions review 2023 networks. So this would be your highway networks, transit networks, provide any transit ridership data, which NVTA is the operative local public transit here, so that would be us. And then also have our jurisdictions review the 2050 network data. And so that kind of concludes my presentation. I'm happy to take any questions if you have any. Or
Thank you for your presentation, commissioners.
Thank you for the presentation. I appreciate it. I'm fascinated by this whole thing because, transportation and transit and work travel really impacts all of us, particularly in a small city like this. Curious why 2023 was that last complete year of data available versus 24?
Yeah, pretty much. We, based on the data that was available, 2023 checked all the boxes essentially. Like some 2020, we did have some 2024 data, but we had 2023 data across the board. So,
Right.
that
And again,
was
just curious, only simply because you mentioned it too. Post-COVID, there's still a lot of telecommuting or telework being done, but I've seen a lift in return to office in 24 and in 25 and coming into 26. So I'd anticipate a higher demand in traffic forthcoming. So that's why I ask about the 23 data versus more current data that might be available. I'm just, again, curious. I don't really know much about this other than data collection.
and I'm not by no means a modeling
Yeah.
expert myself. It just goes back to the data that we had available and that the jurisdictions had available on hand.
And is there consideration for flexibility in modeling based on new data that comes in, based on updated traffic modeling?
Yeah, I mean, I would say nothing for sure, but there's always a chance that we can update the model later down the line and potentially update the base year to be more reflective of current conditions, because I feel like we're always kind of playing catch up with these kind of things. So it's always definitely a possibility.
Thank you. And just one other question. And I know a lot of this model, and I don't know what data is exactly collected, but is there a rail system in this modeling, particularly for the CTA you're talking about for Solano Napa? Because, there's a rail system that runs up and down this corridor, but is there any way that can be used for public transportation?
Yeah.
And maybe, hi, I'm Diana Meehan. I'm the Planning and Programming Manager with MBTA. There's a rail study going on right now, Solano Napa, rail study, and then we're looking at the potential. We reached out. We were trying to get a grant to do a station area plan study. Where would a station go somewhere in American Canyon? So that's kind of in the works too. The model part of what we use the model to do is to forecast future conditions. So for instance, the regional model, which is looking at the all 9 Bay Area region, they use these very large, what are called traffic analysis zones or TAZs. On the county scale, they're much smaller. And then, as Adrell mentioned, the city scale, they get even smaller. So when we look at the 2050 forecast, and there's an opportunity or potential chance for there to be rail here 25 years from now, they could feed that into the model as part of a forecast. I'm also not a modeler. I'm a planner. So, some of this is a little bit over my head, but the tools have gotten so much more sophisticated now than they were even, I don't know, when we last updated this. Yeah, 5 years ago. So they're using part of what part of the inputs in the new models now include big data. So you've heard of things like streetlight data or replica, where your cell phone is pinging and you have apps, and they're collecting all of this data on movement. Vehicle data, onboard vehicles have locators in them now, so they can bring all this new technology in as part of the how they use this to forecast what might occur in the future. As part of a tool, you could say you want that's a question you want answered. It's like, what would it look like if rail were here? And you could run the model, you could use that model as the tool to forecast that. We're not doing that for the particular update. It's not specific to any project in particular. It's just setting up the model for use for whenever you have a big project, a big housing development or something. You want to know what kind of traffic impacts might be included or might occur relative to that development. You would use the model to analyze that. And I will say models are not perfect, but they're pretty darn good. I hope that helps.
Commissioner Goss?
Hi. Yeah, thank you for the presentation and for what you've shared so far. I did have a question. You mentioned big data, and I saw I think a bullet point in one of the slides to calibrate using big data vendors. I was wondering if you could expand on that. Does MBTA have specific partnerships with different private companies? Or, I guess, we're all providing so much data all the time, right, using our phones. But I'm just wondering what that use looks like from MBTA.
Yeah, I mean, so our consultant is RSG, and they previously worked on our travel behavior study, which actually just wrapped a couple months ago. And they used all these different vendors for different things. Mm-hmm. You can no longer reliably use one source to determine how people are traveling, right? You need different sources. So we did use Streetlight, we did use Replica, we used visitor travel data that tracks where the home location of visitors that travel to Napa County. So I mean, there's a variety of sources. Yeah, Azira, excuse me. Yeah. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. We don't have contracts. Yeah, we don't have any individual contract. Everything is through our consultants, which they have contracts with these
Sure.
with these different vendors.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just curious because, I mean, I presume that for any of the modeling, any data that's being used is all anonymized and all of that. I know that there have been some ethical concerns raised with some of the private companies of not having anonymized data necessarily, and that being used for various purposes. But yeah, so I was just curious how that played into the making of the model. It sounds like it was through the consultants.
Yeah.
So. Thanks. I appreciate you expanding on that.
Commissioner Altman?
Thank you. I want to follow up, and as Commissioner Plummer indicated, I too am fascinated with this, and my questions are going to go probably in a little bit of a different tact. I'm going to start, you had mentioned that you have to use the assumptions basically that MTC is providing. So, and I know MTC is supposed to aggregate information from the 9 Bay Area counties. That said, since I'm not an insider and don't know the inner workings of MTC, I can imagine that there's cases where a particular county or area feels that what their big issues are, MTC hasn't addressed appropriately. Assuming that that may be the case here with Napa-Solano counties, can you move off of those assumptions at all, or how do you address the fact that the MTC assumptions, the local the region feels aren't particularly accurate.
So yes, we do have to stay within MTC's assumptions, but I think there is a little bit of wiggle room on occasion to adjust, so they have a total, the total numbers we have to align with, but there is a little bit of wiggle room for where those numbers are.
Okay.
From a jurisdiction standpoint, we have experienced some inconsistencies because everything is divided into traffic analysis zones, right? And so that showcases, our population, households, employment, that kind of thing. There were some inconsistencies with numbers that MTC provided from the regional plan versus what jurisdictions are, what's actually true or what jurisdictions are anticipating through their general plans. And so we are, I don't know if much will come out of that, but we need to be aware of that, just so we can go to MTC and say, hey, these numbers are, inconsistent and there's some discrepancies there. So,
No, I appreciate that. That's very helpful to understand that in fact actually does go on, because I certainly would hope that that there would be some, after MTC hands out its dictate, that there's like somebody going, hey, time out, MTC, wait a minute.
Yeah.
You're off base here.
and that's really the point of this exercise, is why we send the data to the jurisdictions to have them review through their own various methods or plans, just to assure that everything is aligned. And when it's not, let us know, provide that feedback to us, in the hopes that we can, I don't know how much.
I mean, you can use the example of the overlapping TAs.
Oh, yeah, there was an issue with some of the TAZs that MTC identified as American Canyon were actually County of Napa, and then vice versa. And I've also experienced the same thing with the City of Napa, because within their city boundaries, there's some little pockets here and there that are actually owned by the county. And so, I've let our consultant know. I don't know what steps can be taken to right that, but I think just so, like I said, just so we're aware and we can try to do something to correct that.
Great. No,
Yeah.
Really appreciate it. And so the next thing I want to touch on is, and I'm really glad actually that the idea of rail came up, because it leads me to a very different place, which is, as I look towards the future, I'm assuming, I can't give you the time window, but I'm assuming that autonomous vehicles in some fashion are going to exist in a much greater fashion than they do today. And that is likely to have some very positive, beneficial impacts on the needs for things like rail and for traffic impacts and so on. Because if we ever get to some people view as ideal situation where every vehicle is autonomous and they are able to communicate with one another, then you're always going to maintain safe distances. You should have zero accidents. You should have, constantly flowing traffic. Now, is that realistic? I'm not so sure. But in the ideal and how some people envision it, that's what's going to happen. But so in terms of the assumptions that are being made, how much are things like autonomous vehicles viewed into the assumption? Because we're talking about going out to 2050 at this point. That's 24 years from now. It's not a short window.
This is why we say we're not modeling experts.
Well, it's not about how to model. It's about what assumptions are being
Right,
used
and so-
in
so when
terms
they-
of the modeling.
Yeah, it's part of the all the inputs become part of the calibration inside of a model. And, it is meant to be used as a forecasting tool. Part of what goes into the assumptions, you're right. If we don't, if we don't put something in there about autonomous vehicles, but they're still just vehicles. But you're talking even further into how they functionally operate. So in terms of how to manage a system through autonomous vehicles, you maximize the use on a highway because they can keep a safe distance and not crash. All those things that you mentioned. I don't really know if they're planning to use those as part of the assumptions, because again, they're just looking at what the impacts of traffic are, based on what the land use conditions and population and all those things. So that's a question that we can get back to you with. I'm curious now too to find out what type of input that would be, because again, they're vehicles, but and you said this could have a lot of benefits, and I do agree there could be a lot of benefits, but there could also be issues with additional traffic. If there's still one person per one autonomous vehicle, then you still have that single occupancy vehicle conundrum. When the goal would be to try to see people shift over to other modes or maximize the space through use of transit or other alternative modes. But I wish I had a crystal ball and I could give you a good answer on this, but we'll certainly ask if that's part of the assumptions or the way that they're making assumptions out into the outer year.
Yeah, no, that's appreciated, because I'm not expecting answers at this point. I mean,
Yeah.
because I get it. But it is, and your point about single vehicle, yeah, that is the potential downside. Especially, again, I mean, there is so much potential out there that is unknown, but is within a short window. What if everyone is driving single vehicles, but instead of being large automobiles as we now know them, they are these tiny, designed for one person, small.
Those things
enclosed-
they're being tested.
Exactly. But you're not driving it. I mean,
Or they're even testing
they're
these
driving them
kind
themselves.
of mid-size that hold like 10 people. They're like mini buses, but they link together. If you've heard of the Gomentum Station in Contra Costa County, it's the former Naval Air Weapons Base over there. Contra Costa County Transportation Authority, our sister agency over there, in partnership with all kinds of vendors, are testing you. If it's autonomous, it's probably being tested over there. And you can take a visit, take a tour, and kind of go see. They're looking at things where these things operate on guideways, where they'll build a guideway. I think there might be one coming in the next 2 years at the Atlanta airport. They're going in.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's these things are happening, and in the biggest problem, and again, it's a supplemental way of using autonomous vehicles, but the biggest problem with transit has always been the quote-unquote last mile issue.
Right.
How do you get to transit? How do you get from transit to destination? Because transit's great, getting you from here to here, but if you got to go here, if you're starting here and you got to go here, it's that last little pieces, that first and last little pieces are a problem. What if you have a fleet of on-call Waymo taxis, effectively? There are just so many and so if we're looking at modeling out there, I'm raising this all because my hope is that these things are being given full consideration, because it is impacts on traffic can be so significant in so many different ways. If we're thinking about this, if the mindset is, well, it's automobile, it's BART or rail or what, it's like, let's broaden the box, broaden the horizons, and that's why I'm mentioning all of this.
Yeah, I mean, the goal really is to find a way that we could maximize the existing system. Caltrans, you've got a highway dividing your community. Caltrans has a tough time maintaining the system they've got today with the dollars that they have. And so, the idea of expanding that system or making it larger is not something that they're very conducive to. So now the goal is, how do we maximize the existing system that we have? And one way is to, adjust that single occupancy vehicle situation. And, you know, we all have 5 seats in our vehicles, or most of us do. Why aren't those seats filled? Or, you know, what are the reasons people don't use transit? Once you get in your car, if you've got to drive to the transit center to get your bus, you're probably just going to keep going in your vehicle. So that first mile, last mile is a very significant thing indeed. And so something like a glideway or a guideway, where it's a fixed system that's maybe making a loop, and it comes by and you get on that and it gets you to your transit. Those are the things that are under consideration in the future of transportation. Napa County, not quite yet. I can tell you that NVTA made an attempt to bring a small autonomous vehicle up here. I think it was about 6 years ago. We didn't get the funding. We tried to get the funding through AAA. They sent it down to Las Vegas instead, and it was just going to be a little loop. It was quite expensive to operate it. At the time, those vehicles were only allowed to make right turns only. So we had to find a loop where we could just go around making right turns. But, you know, the novelty of it, and, you know, testing it in a place where it was near our transit center, we were going to loop around the Oxbow. You know, it was just a small loop that we were trying to make, but we wanted to test it and see if it could operate. Unfortunately, we didn't get it. But, you know, there could be something like that in the future if there's a chance to find the funding to be able to test some of these things and see how they work, to maybe do a first mile, last mile pilot or something that helps us maximize the system best that we can.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's it. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Youth Commissioner Hall?
Yeah. So I wanted to bring up how you said the current model we have right now was last updated in 2015, correct? So we've been talking about like how the future, like vehicle-wise or, you know, transportation-wise. I just want to know, because with the pandemic in 2020 and then shifting from that, there was, as you guys brought up, there's a lot of different changes about how people operate, how they go to work, how they're working, or how they're getting places. And with what we've been talking about with the new autonomous vehicles or possible railways and things like that, is there a way to ensure that this current model that we're looking to bring in doesn't wait as long to get updated? Or is there a reason as to why it was waiting so long to be updated till now?
And I'm not sure that's totally accurate. I think that we had the base year, the data and information that creates the base year of the model was from 2015. I think there have been some tweaks to the model between 2015 and now, but it's still out of date if we're using that base year data to make the model. For instance, for the SR 29 corridor project out here, the consultant took that base year model and they made some tweaks to that model to make it more current, to functionally test and analyze the corridor. So yes, and you know, usually for us it boils down to funding, and we partner with Solano County, so some of the funding for the model update is coming from Solano County and some of it's coming from Napa County. We're allocated through MTC a certain amount of dollars every 4 years for our planning efforts. It's usually not enough. We have to find other dollars to accomplish what we need to accomplish. But a lot of that is discretionary funding. Like I mentioned, the rail station area plan. We just submitted our second application, and hopefully we see the dollars in round 2. If not, we'll probably go one more time. Third time's a charm, as they say. It's not uncommon in that discretionary funding world. But yes, that's usually the rate limiting factor. We try to stay as current as we can. We update our countywide plans once every 4 to 5 years to stay consistent with the regional transportation plan. And again, we're as consistent as we can be on the county level versus the regional level, kind of back to that earlier question about when we see a discrepancy, we do note that it's because they're looking at the region, and the regional model is looking at a much bigger picture than we're looking at here. We're a little more fine-grained, so there's likely to be some discrepancy there. But all we can do is ensure from our local partners that they're looking at the data and getting it as close to correct as possible. MTC, they're getting ready to launch the next cycle of the Regional Transportation Plan 2060, so it's looking out another 10 years. So it's this 10-year ball bouncing forward, and all of this data and information that we're collecting now will inform that update, but then in 4 more years they'll do it again. So yeah, it's constantly moving target, but we try to stay current. I know that we had our own impacts from COVID. This last year, NVTA updated 5 plans in the last 2 years, so we called it Planapalooza because we've never had this many plans moving simultaneously, but that's because we had some delay during COVID. We didn't update our bike and pedestrian plans, which is part of your community plan too. We're now combining those into a single active transportation plan, and that one's soon to adopt. And then will come, to each jurisdiction for their local plan adoption. Same thing with our countywide plan. We're on target for that one because we always do that just a little bit in advance of the regional transportation plan update. So that one is on target, but we did an accessible transportation needs assessment looking at transportation solutions for older adults and disabled folks. We have a community-based transportation plan, which is a lot of outreach into equity priority communities throughout the counties. And so, all of these things were happening simultaneously, along with even, smaller, more localized projects like the corridor plan, which I think, is that coming to Planning Commission or Council 2 weeks? 2 weeks, yeah.
I think it's the February 3rd City Council meeting.
Yeah. So we do our best to stay as current as we can, and we'll be current going into this next cycle. Yeah.
Thanks for the clarification.
Vice Chair Plummer?
Thank you again. Rail, definitely. I mean, I see that rail runs from Vallejo all the way up to Santa Elena. I know there's some private areas that need to be considered, but I mean, that would be huge because you're talking about existing infrastructure, so stay on that. Just a comment, I mean, there's 1,000 inputs, probably lots of thousands of variables you have to consider. Future considerations, I mean, that's true, autonomous. We've got an Amazon warehouse that has drivers all over the place that impact traffic. I mean, there's so many variables. Is one of the inputs under consideration, particularly for the regional area, the state mandates for housing that's being implemented in each city and the increase in population, particularly for certain cities that are adding these housing demands?
That
Yeah.
goes as part of the estimation of it, but when they're doing the housing inputs, it's really, approved housing. Like they want to know what's already on the books, what's actually approved and conditioned. Anything beyond that are just assumptions. You can say we're going to build this many units, and the state can say you need to build this many units, but if a developer doesn't come along to build that many units, then the units don't get built. So, yeah.
No, that's good. Thank you.
Good. So I was just curious, what is the change in travel time? What is the data saying?
We don't have any data yet, but you want to talk about travel behavior study?
Yeah, to keep it short, the traffic is back to, to pre-COVID levels. And I think it's even a little bit, we have more traffic because there's now more single occupancy vehicles on the road. And people are, reluctant or, for many reasons to go back to whatever modes they were using before, whether it be transit or some combination of, or some active transportation mode or things like that. So, trying to remember what else the numbers were from the.
I mean, it's back to pre-COVID. The numbers between 2018
and 2024.
When we did vehicle, it's almost identical.
Yeah, I think.
Trips.
Yeah, I think for 2018 there was a little bit over 400,000 trips per day or per weekday through Napa County, and for the 2024, study was at 418,000. So
You know the numbers in American Canyon?
yeah, I can follow up with you for American Canyon specific numbers,
Okay.
but we have all that data available.
So I didn't know that you guys, or are you presenting February 3rd, or is Caltrans presenting February?
That will be
Different staff members,
Yeah.
our engineer grant.
Okay. So I wanted to ask, do February 9th for the year 2050 data for the adopted general plans? Can you give us a little sneaky peek on what you have planned for the city of American Canyon to relieve traffic?
So, so yeah, so for the model, this is just a series of data collection.
Yeah.
So then we'll look at these regional assumptions from MTC based on travel surveys that they've done, all the data analysis they've collected for the regional model, and they hand us this set of assumptions. Do we agree or disagree based on what our local assumptions are? Do these things make sense? And then what are we forecasting in terms of land uses and other things that we know are happening? So those are all part of the inputs
Got it.
into the calibration of the model, and then they'll take it and run it multiple times and validate, yes, this is working like we assume it's supposed to work. Again, I'm not a modeler, but based on what I do know, it's just these forecast tools based on today's information is how that's done.
And last question, we know what MTC stands for. What does SNABM stand for?
Oh, Solano Napa activity-based model.
Got it.
Or
SNABM.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anybody else? Thank you for your presentation. Oh, wait, do we have public comment?
So we do have one person on Zoom. Is there any public comment? Going once, twice. Okay, there's no public comment.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. This was good stuff.
All right, moving on. Consent calendar. Do we have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of November 20th, 2025 meeting.
May I have a second?
I will second that motion.
Nicole, roll call, please.
Yes, Commissioner Marilyn Abalon,
Aye.
Commissioner Eric Altman,
Aye.
Commissioner Shelby Goss,
Aye.
Vice Chair Charles Plummer,
Aye.
Chair Devet Mohammed.
Aye. Moving on to public hearings, there are no public hearings, so we will move on to business. We are to select Planning Commission Chair and Vice Chair for 2026 recommendation. By minute of order, do I have a nomination for Chair?
I would, if he's up for it, nominate Mr. Plummer.
I second. Nicole, roll call, please.
One second.
Oh,
I've got to catch up with you guys, sorry.
Mr. Plummer, are you up for it? That's the question.
I would be honored, thank you.
Because if people would have put my name up, I'd say, no, I'm not doing it.
Again.
6 years is enough.
Just 1 second, I'll get. All right. Commissioner Marilyn Abalon. Aye. Commissioner Eric Altman.
Aye.
Commissioner Shelby Goss.
Aye.
Vice Chair Charles Plummer.
Aye.
Chair Devet Mohammed.
Aye. Thank you. And moving on to Vice Chair. Oh, congratulations. And moving on to Vice Chair, do we have a nomination for Vice Chair? Vice Chair is to serve a one-year term, January 2026 to December 2026.
I would like to nominate Shelby Goss for vice chair.
I'd like to second.
Nicole, roll call, please.
One moment. Commissioner Marilyn Abalon. Aye. Commissioner Eric Altman.
Aye.
Commissioner Shelby Goss.
Aye.
Vice Chair Charles Plummer,
Aye.
Chair Devet Mohammed.
Aye. Congratulations. Here you go.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not
Ah.
yet.
Okay. Let's see. So we will move on to management and staff oral reports. Director Cooper.
Thank you. This is always my favorite part of the meeting. Giving you updates on what's happening in the Community Development Department. We have quite a lot of things going on, so you bear with me. I'll just give you the good parts and leave out the rest. We have a lot of things going on at Canyon Estates. It's now called the Enclave at Canyon Estates. And they have a building permit, and they're well on their way of constructing a model home out there. They're only going to do one model home. It's a single story. Altogether, they have 7 floor plans, and a number of them are single story. So that's nice to see things moving forward with that project. To help facilitate their project, there are a number of lots that are problematic because while they may be large lots, some of them, particularly near the top, have very, very deep slopes, which doesn't leave a lot of room left for a house. And so we do have a variance application that will come to the Planning Commission, hopefully next meeting, where they're going to shift the house forward a little bit so they can have a usable backyard. So that's coming up. And then some of the lots, they're doing some lot line shifts. The new lots will meet the zoning standard. So there isn't a need for it to come to the Planning Commission. It's more of an administrative function. But they're kind of scooching things along because they're fitting these floor plans into these interestingly shaped lots. And so it's nice to see them do that. The vehicle in which we're talking to them about all of this is through a design permit application, which is item 4 on the list. So as these lots come up one by one, they're talking to us and saying, okay, how does this lot fit with this house? What do you think? And so it's a little bit unconventional, but it's sort of a unique project that way. And it's nice to see them working through. Normally, you wouldn't get a major national home builder spending this much attention on a small 35-lot project. So we really appreciate the care and attention they're giving to it. And each lot is very carefully crafted with the house models that they have. And it's going to be, I think, a neighborhood we'll be very proud of when it's finished.
If I can ask, because one of the original concerns was, of course, the overhead lines. Are any shifts being made as a result of the presence of the overhead lines on? And I think it was only about 3 lots that were impacted, if memory serves.
Yes, those are along the southern edge of the project, and those are very deep lots, and so there was plenty of room there to accommodate the setback from the power lines. And so that wasn't a concern at all. But there are some oddly shaped lots with hills, and those ones need some. The assumption was at the time that someone will have a custom home, and they'll really kind of fit the house to the lot. Whereas with a home builder, they have floor plans and things, and it just doesn't work quite the same way. But it's going to still be very nice.
The individual that purchased the 1 or 2 lots, did they sell it to the builder or do they still own?
They have not, but we've been in touch with both of them, so they're informed of what Richmond American has in mind, and so we'll see what happens.
Thank you.
Moving forward, let's see. We do have a recent movement on item 5, Promontory Final Map. This is a subdivision out in Watson Ranch, owned by the Newell family. And when the subdivision map gets approved, it goes through the Planning Commission, and then it's approved by the council. It's called a tentative map. And there's a number of conditions and specific measurements and things in order to make it a final map, which is more of an administrative process. But oftentimes, the maps have requirements for public improvements. And so they come with bonds and engineering things that involve math. But at the end of the day, those agreements go to the council, and they pair that with the final map. So that went forward to the city council back in the middle of December. So it's nice to see that part get moving forward. Out front billboards, we'll be having an internal meeting in the middle of February to talk about that. This project requires a zone change because billboards today are not permitted. Yes, we have billboards in town, so they're called non-conforming uses, which means that they can stay the way they are, but you can't add to them, you can't improve them, and that's not what out front billboards has in mind. So it would need to be an amendment to our code. So we have involved our assistant city manager, Juan Gomez, and he's involved in it as well. And so we're excited to have that elevation of involvement at the city manager level. And so we'll be moving forward with some recommendations. I think we've talked about it a lot, but we need to refine it a little more, and we're getting closer. So it'll be an interesting conversation when the time comes. Let's see, the Giovannoni project, that's at the bottom here, page 2 on your list, item 9. The Giovannoni project was one approved by the city a couple of years ago, and 2.1 million square feet. The Devlin Road extension, going down to Green Island Road, bisects it on east and west. The parcel map, unless you record it, I like that one, will expire. And so their time has passed, but they do have options of extending it. They did so a year ago, and they're doing it again this year. They have said that they are getting ready to complete the map and begin some buildings. They're in negotiations with a user for the property. And so just a couple of days ago, they were at the city council for a map extension. And so it's they need that extra time, but they are moving forward, which is nice to see. You know, like these things hanging around forever with no activity. It's been a while. But you know, economy's up and down, so it's I'm sure it's a challenge. William has been coordinating with them on it and has been doing a great job.
Oh, yes.
Yes, I have.
The map was supposed to expire this March, and they got an extension for 1 more year. But I don't think they're going to need the whole year. They just need a couple more months to get the full.
Yeah. That's right. So Williams, he's on the pulse there. In terms of building permits, of course, we're all really excited about the Napa River Ecology Center having their building permit that was approved, and they're moving forward. Super exciting. Our new neighborhood market at Canyon Corners, they'll be occupying a portion, large portion, but a portion of the former Goodwill store. And so that building permit was issued also in the middle of December. So nice to have another grocery option in town. And let's see, Watson Ranch Lot 7, I think, William, is that called Sorrel?
Yes, so what they had is they're calling all the single-family homes Sorrel, and then the alleyway homes Serrano. So.
And they are getting close to building some model homes. So that'll be nice to see them go forward. That's KB Home. They're a relatively new builder in American Canyon, although they're a very large national builder. Our friends at Sun Square, they have filed building permits and they've made some changes, but then they've been talking to us about a wholesale change to their site plan to increase the number of one-bedroom apartments on the site. And so the degree of change is a major modification in our zoning code. And so if they do move forward, which they haven't proposed anything formally to us yet, other than talk about it, but if they do move forward, that would become a project that would come to the Planning Commission. But, Sun Square, they're a wonderful, wonderful organization based in American Canyon doing great work. So we want to give them all the love and help we can. Let's see. Watson Ranch, Lot 8, side 7, KB Home, Lot 8, also KB Home. These are the 25 lots that are just south of the future Central Park in Watson Ranch, so it's a great location from that perspective. Some of the homes are a little bit elevated above the future park, so they'll have views from the back, which is nice. And those model homes are up and running if you want to go visit them today. And so KB Home was very proud of how quickly they were able to build those homes. After all, time is money. So if you can get that finished. And then we have been talking a lot to our friends at Oat Hill. The lower tier, what we call Parcel B, apartments are looking pretty finished, if you were just to casually look at them. So there are a number of tasks they have to wrap up to get it finished and ready for people to move in. Some of the issues that have been needed have been out there since October, but it seems they're a little more motivated these days. So we've been in close communication with them, and I expect, as long as we stick to our guns and know you really have to do this, they will. And we'll have people moving into a beautiful and safe neighborhood.
Is the roadway work?
It's almost finished.
Okay.
It is.
Coming along?
It's really coming along. Our Public Works Department, I think there are some, stop signs, maybe some painting. There's some sidewalk work. There were some utility poles, I think, that need to be moved. So there are some details, but it's almost ready there for vehicles to use.
So they might open the roadway.
Well, that's part of it too.
I mean, because it's been closed off with the barriers for quite a while now. But I'm surprised, but they haven't done anything to address the incline, basically. I thought they might try and take a little bit of the incline out at some point.
Well, those engineers, they have standards, and I guess it met it.
So parcel A, is that the one that's on top of the hill?
On top of the hill, it's still further out, but the bottom tier is, the buildings are looking pretty good.
So right above it, and what's to the left? Is that part of it, Oat Hill as well?
If we're where we are now and looking at it, and if you mean to the left, would that be the hillside to the just south of it?
Yes.
That is owned by, I believe, Mr. Maderos.
Okay. Thank you. I was curious.
Let's see, in terms of city-initiated projects, of course, the general plan, it's never really done, but there is an annual update, just a monitoring report that is coming due for your next meeting, required by the state, and we will be incorporating an overview of our sustainability measures that we talked about. So looking forward to that. Along with that, it's paired with the housing element annual review that William is working on. William informed me that the state was very excited to tell us all about the new forms this year. I think the last year's forms were bad. I'm sorry, fine. Now they have new ones. So it's kind of like income tax for housing.
The bureaucrats have to keep themselves occupied.
They
So
do,
they have to
yes.
redesign the forms. Come on.
And hopefully someday TurboTax will have a version for housing element. Can only hope. I don't know if you noticed or not, but when the new year rolled around, we had a new building code. So in the state of California, the building code is updated every 3 years. And kind of like, the supermoon. This year is the supermoon for building code. And so I might be able to convince our building official to come and tell you what that actually means. But if you're a builder, if you we're able to get your building permit application submitted to us before the end of December, then you get to move forward with the old code. But if you didn't, then it has to be the new code. And what inevitably happens every year, the folks that they hire to do their building plans design it under the old code, and then they kind of submit it anyway, and then we have to tell them that it's not right.
Does that include ADUs?
All buildings, and so it's not a wholesale change, but usually there's changes to the energy requirements, energy efficiency requirements, and often seismic, because there's constantly new information about earthquakes and how to build safe buildings. There's some new rules this year that the state allows builders, when they submit model homes that we review, and when they build them all over again, right, we plan check the floor plan once, and then they build a bunch of them, and then the review for the ones that the production homes is easy, because we've already plan checked the structure. There's a new rule now that if the building code changes before all the subdivisions built out, we have to keep them under the old code. So it's actually making it harder to update them. And I believe that's an effort to constrain the cost of housing, and because I'm sure it's expensive to make changes to update to the code.
There were two other components that also were designed to facilitate housing with this. One was they're freezing for the next 9 years residential building code standards. So we won't have a 3-year update for the residential code standards in 29, and then not again in not 33 either. It won't be till 36.
Gosh, I'll be really
But
old when that comes up.
They will be allow the 3-year update for the non-residential building code. And so that'll create sort of 2 books we'll have to run, and that'll be fun. And then there were some additional updates on fire safety components that I'm sure the building official could cover in greater detail that'll also be affecting, which makes sense. Fire safety stemming out of the wildfires from last year and the year before. Thanks.
Thank you. Let's see, we'll be providing a management update on OpenGov, our new software. It was implemented this fall, and so there'll be a management report on that with a very impressive PowerPoint presentation prepared by our communications team on the council meeting February 3rd. So unfortunately, I won't be there, but in place of representing our department will be Julianne Gilfus. So, and it will also be shared with our finance department and public works. It's not to be missed. Let's see. Also, I think we've given a presentation on the Shoreline Regional Adaptation Plan, and the Public Works Department's in charge of this. And Norm was able to submit the grant application in the middle of November. So, waiting to see how it goes, and hopefully we'll get money and move forward with that. That'll involve both of our departments, but he's bringing the money. On regional projects, it was nice having the new traffic model update. There is also, with Napa County taking the lead, the Regional Climate Action and Adaptation Plan. I think it was yesterday or the day before we received the administrative draft that follows completion of the public review. So it's pretty much almost ready. I reviewed it, but it was really enjoyable. It's a big document. Has a lot of things it says. So that should be moving forward, in the first half of this year. And then on the Napa Valley Transportation Authority Highway 29 project initiation document, that's also moving forward. There'll be a presentation also, I believe, at the council meeting on February 3rd. And there's some important updates I'm not going to scoop, so that you'll come and listen to it. Stay tuned.
Darn.
Yes.
I want the scoop. I might be otherwise occupied.
Let's see. I did talk to the city manager about the commission's request for a joint meeting with the city council. The city manager suggests that we get together for a discussion about the Broadway district, it's properties along Highway 29 here, and have a conversation about a more granular look about what might be appropriate at a more of a parcel level. Because each one is so different, the circumstances, and really kind of get a good handle about that. So hopefully you will all be available on July 21st. And check your calendars. And then there's also some, I don't know if it's been announced yet or not, but there's some other fun stuff the council has in store for the commissions.
It's been announced.
Oh, it has been announced?
Yeah.
Oh, good, okay. And
I
then,
missed the announcement. What is it?
So there will be a council commission appreciation dinner, and it's scheduled for March 25th, which is a Wednesday, at Lestrada Restaurant. So staff should have reached out to you via phone
I'm seeing a lot.
and email. I'll follow up with you.
The staff in charge was supposed to. So let's see. Also, not really on the list here, but is the Outdoor Education Center, Wetlands Edge, is going to be a ribbon cutting next Wednesday at 1:30 p.m. So that's very exciting. And we have one other announcement too. There has been advancement for our Nicole. She's now officially Deputy City Clerk for the City of American Canyon.
Thank you.
And that's, other than that, I have nothing else to say.
I've got a quick question, because it's kind of across the street. Home to Suites, is it ever going to open?
I'm sure it's, let me just say, it's never been closer. Unfortunately, the property owner did not hire competent people to work on it. And our inspectors are catching errors. They're noting them. They're informing the property owner and their contractors in charge. And when errors are corrected and the building is safe, then the building will be released for occupancy. But they are making progress. We've never been closer.
I've never seen a hotel take 4 years to be built. A small hotel, frankly. It's kind of nuts. So,
Well, you know what they say. You can't rush quality.
apparently they rushed lack of quality.
Yes.
And now they're having to go try and fix it after the fact, which just adds costs insanely. It's just crazy.
It is hard to watch. It's hard to see, but there is no other path than a safe building.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what we're here for, but it's just mind-boggling to me, because I believe that goes back to 2022 as to when the approval for it was green-lighted.
Yes, and I know you speak for everybody when you say that, because it's true. Yes.
All right, good.
And still no cannabis, right?
No, there has not been any. I think I've removed them from the list here. I remember calling people and asking them if they're still interested, and I think I got, this number is no longer in service.
It's fallen out of that market.
I love how it was going to be the savior and provide tax funding and so on for every community that got into it, and there was this big push that we should be a leader and we should dive in, and we said no. And I think we were right. I think the costs of crime have offset the tax increases in communities that did dive deep with it.
Good. Thank you, Director Cooper. Commissioners, do you have any items? No? All right, it is 7:39, and I adjourn this meeting. Good night, American Canyon.